Uno momento, por favor. Let's try this.
I did it.
You did not. You did it to yourself. All right, let me try this one more time. Redo spotlight. Is it working now?
I'm big.
I don't need to be that big ever.
Add spotlight. There we
Now,
go.
see, now this is more manageable.
Mm.
All right, everybody else, don't matter to me, and turn your cameras on, shut them off, but just watch for the qualities and skills that I will attempt to role model.
Oh.
All right, Jennifer, first, just going to start off with welcoming you and appreciate you volunteering for this.
You're welcome.
And I'm going to, I wasn't there at your last session, but I believe you've been coached before, and I'm just going to ask you to jump back. You got narrowed it down to an area that you want to focus on. Could you tell me a little bit about what area you want to focus on?
I'd like to focus on having a more realistic schedule.
Realistic schedule. And, what does this realistic schedule?
There's
What does it,
sorry.
what does it mean to what's important about it?
That there's some downtime and some flexibility. I tend to overschedule and over plan, so I don't have a lot of downtime.
Downtime and flexibility. And what's downtime and flexibility allowed Jennifer to do? What makes that important?
Recharge, relax, just kind of veg out for a little bit, not worry about planning or doing what needs to come next.
Get your balance. Yeah. So we're going to help you get there. And, in coaching, we use this thing called a couple different types of goals that we're going to set. We're going to set a long-term goal. Generally speaking, that's going to be 3 to 6 months out. That's the sweet spot for science that says that's the sweet spot to make something realistic to happen. And then we're going to do backwards planning from that, where we're going to set action steps. Like, what are you going to do today or in the next 5 days to get you where you want to be for that long-term goal? And with both these goals, we're going to apply an acronym to them. We're going to make them SMART, and we're going to really smarten it up. And SMART simply are you familiar with SMART?
No, I'm not.
Okay, SMART stands for specific. We're going to narrow that down. Specificity is a key to help you change it. It helps you with focus. We're going to make it measurable, so you got clear guidelines to see how you're doing when you're getting there. And we're going to make it action oriented. We're actually going to be doing something with it. And it's going to be realistic, and you're going to define, no one knows you better than you know yourself. You're going to define if something's realistic for you, but if I may help you a little bit like that. Like, if your goal was to run a marathon on Tuesday and you haven't run in 10 years, we may talk a little bit about it, but you're going to decide what's realistic for you. And time bound, we're going to put time parameters around it. Like with the long-term goal, the time parameter is going to be what you're going to be doing in that 3 to 6 month range, a little longer, a little shorter, depending on you. And with those action steps, that time parameter is going to be a little narrower. But, when we talk about this long-term goal, what kind of time frame do you think you're looking at, Jennifer? I'm sorry.
It's fine. Jen is fine. I would say if the short term is 3 to 6, so would the long term be 6 to 12 or 6 to 9?
Long term is 3 to 6. Short term is just going to be, what are you going to do today or tomorrow to get you there?
Okay, and you're asking me what my short term will be?
Long term, 3 to 6.
Yeah, 3 to 6 would be great. Maybe we say 3 months.
3 months.
Yeah. Hang on.
And we're talking about this. Oh,
I'm here. Yeah, so sorry, my cat needs in. I'm so sorry.
See, cats, nothing but trouble.
Ooh, that's not good for coaching to say that. Good.
But in this area, this realistic schedule concept that you have in your mind, paint me a picture of where you'd like to be in that 3 months.
I'd like to listen to myself. I'd like to make sure I have a day a week where I'm actually just relaxing. And
Day a week where you're relaxing in 3 months.
yeah,
And when you say a day, are you talking about the work day? Are you talking about 24 hours?
I'm talking about having 3 to 6 hours once a week where I'm not exercising, I'm not on a committee call, I'm not having to think about anything or plan anything.
3 to 6 hours once a week where you're not doing.
Correct.
All right. So we're working on this smart and not doing is kind of vague.
Okay.
I'm just, what are you not doing?
I'm not up doing laundry. I'm not packing for my next trip. I'm not sitting down scheduling things. I'm not on a call. I'm not out running around getting things ready for the next event. I'm just being still and calm. And I could be
You
in
just,
front of the TV, it's fine, but it could be listening to a book, it's fine. It's just not.
so you're just being Jennifer. You're within Jennifer. There's no outside demands on your time.
Mhm.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And, let's go through this specifically. 3 to 6 months from now, you're going to have that 3 to 6 hours, 1 day a week. Do you got a day in mind or is that getting too narrow?
It tends to end up being really good on Sunday afternoons after church and after everything's done. That seems to be a great one because that's not a typical busy time that it's going to take from anything if I use that.
So we got the S, the specific, 3 to 6 hours of Jennifer time, whether it's reading, watching TV, but what you're not going to be doing is doing for others or taking care of other commitments. That's a specific. And we got that measure. It's 1 day a week, 3 to 6 hours, right?
Mhm.
And for the action, we're going to call this the non-action. Jennifer, who has a problem with always moving, she's not going to be doing that.
Okay.
And you tell me, is this realistic for you?
I think so, especially since I'm not saying I'm going to do it 6 hours or 8 hours. I mean, I think 3's realistic.
So we're going to narrow down that specificity to make it a little more realistic. Get it down to 3 hours.
I think that's probably going to make me feel more successful because 6 seems like that's like a half of a day almost, 12 hour. Yeah.
And we got that time bound that now you're going to be doing this in 3 months. Today's May 30th. We got June 30th, July 30th. So that I think August 30th is like a Friday. So September 2nd, September 1st is the time you want. That would take you right at that 3 month point.
Okay.
So when you shoot me back what your goal is, your long-term goal.
My long-term goal is by September 1st, I will have 3 hours a week, 3 hours of gym time, 1 day a week for 3 hours, and the action is non-action.
3 hours of gen time.
No
And
laundry, no, because sometimes I still do laundry, so that's a problem for me. So okay, we'll get it. There's always something to do, it seems like.
yeah, there's always something to do, but Jen's gonna do Jen.
Yeah.
And if we look at this and on a 1 to 10 scale, 1 yeah, this doesn't matter to me. This is not important at all. And 10, this is life changing. I got to do this. How important is this to you?
I would say probably an 8 because it does affect my life when I get overtired and I'm not as happy and not as good as a wife. I'm just not as pleasant. It doesn't feel good. So I'd say probably an 8.
An 8, and you said it does impact your life. You're not as happy. What else makes it an 8?
Makes it 8 because I value relationships and I value when I'm somewhere I want to be present. And when I'm tired and burnt out, I can't be. So I think just making sure I'm the best I can be, this will get me there.
You put value in the way you present and your relationships and your commitments. And you see this is making you better at those by taking care of yourself.
Yes.
And when you're doing this, when you get those 3 hours of gen time, when you finally figured out to be truly selfless, you got to be a little selfish. How's your life going to be different?
I do think my mental health will be better. I'll be less stressed out. I'll be happier. It'll be easier to show up when I need to show up, is what I think. It will feel less like an obligation if I put some time in for me.
Less stress. You still have the same obligations, but it won't feel as pressured.
Right.
Yeah. So, we got that long-term goal, Jen. 3 to 6 months or 3 months. You got that 3 hours on Sunday after church of gen time.
Mm-hmm.
What do you think you can do in the next, say, week to help you move towards that?
Maybe start to fully set up the 3 hours. Start set my life up, like maybe start to just make sure I leave little by little, leave that time off of my calendar. So I'm not able to put anything on there. Look at that as a time that I already start setting it up to where I'm not stressed about laundry and stuff. I'm just slowly setting it up to where I can actually give myself 3 hours.
So a little prep work into it. And, we're going to take that same SMART acronym: specific, measurable, actionable, realistic, time bound. And specifically, I heard a couple things in there. You talked about, having that laundry plan in place. You talked about maybe blocking your calendar for that Sunday afternoon. What specifically would you like to do in the next week?
I think maybe look at this next week and be aware of what my Saturday and Sundays look like. Just be a little more conscious of what they look like and what would, so therefore I could look at to see what I need to change to get to this goal.
Looking at being, getting a clearer picture of that Saturday and Sunday, and how are you going to, we're going to drill down with this specificity. Is this something, just a mental picture you're going to do? Are you going to write down the things that you actually did? What are you thinking?
Well, I always have things on my calendar when I do, so just kind of being more aware, because it's really broad on my calendar, so maybe being a little more specific of what Sundays actually look like and how this could, slowly looking at how I can transition that.
So the first step for Jen scheduling Jen time, that specific thing, is she's really going to look at her calendar for this upcoming weekend and see
Yeah.
what she has scheduled.
Yeah.
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 And
maybe the next weekend, because this weekend I've got stuff all the time. But I mean, I can look and see how could I have done it differently if I'm going to look at it differently.
so what I hear you saying is, you got a lot going on this weekend. You want to look at two consecutive weekends so you get a picture. So if we're going this weekend, Following weekend is June 8th and 9th. So by June 10th, you'll have a kind of a picture. You'll have 2 weekends of data. And that's the action. The action is you're looking at your calendars. You're getting a snapshot of what Jen looks like. Is this realistic for you?
Yes.
Yeah. And we got the time bound that June 10th after you got your 2 weekends of data. So go ahead and shoot it back at me. Tell me in your own words, what's this action step?
Okay, the action step for the short term is that I'm going to look at the next 2 weekends. And I'm going to see what the schedule looks like from now until June 10th. So, and just be mindful of what's going on to see how I
Yeah,
can fit it.
be mindful, get a clear picture of what Jen is so Jen can get her Jen time in. So, you know, what do you think is going to help you achieve this? You know, you got, I heard you mention already that you honor all your commitments, you're there for others. What's going to help Jen be there for Jen?
I'm not sure. I guess looking at these goals and remembering why, I guess looking at the overall picture of why I'm doing it, which is to try to be a better me and to show up with a good attitude.
Yeah, what I hear you kind of saying it is that end result will justify the work. Yeah. And you've already said that you honor your commitments. Is Jen committing to herself to do this?
Yes.
Yes, that was pretty affirmative. What's going to get in the way of this? Just what do you think may get in the way of it?
I have a hard time if someone offers something fun to do on those 3 hours, not saying sure. So just knowing that.
Jen's going to get in the way of herself. Jen likes to say yes.
I like to go, yeah.
What do you think you can do to maybe overcome that one?
I can just try to remember what the overall goal is.
Again, you like to keep the end goal in mind. Keep that in the forefront of your mind. Is there anything trick that you think you can come up with for yourself to keep that end goal in mind?
Having the reminders in my phone or on my calendar.
Your calendar runs your life.
Yeah.
Yeah. Reminders in your phone and your calendar, you know, that hindrance is also a strength of yours. All right. Yeah. Other than me, it can be someone, it can be something. What do you think is going to help support you in being successful in this? Just the action step.
My husband would be supportive.
Your husband. And how do you think you garner his support a little more?
Informing him and explaining why and what we're doing. He'll be thrilled. So
Yeah. He'll be thrilled. When do you think you're
you're
going to
fine to
tell him?
relax. He's fine not going all the time.
He's fine not going anywhere. I'd like your husband, I think.
No, he has to go somewhere. He just want to go all the time, like nonstop.
Okay. So
He doesn't go to bed at 7. I'm just kidding.
when do you think you're going to let your husband in on this little plan?
Later tonight, maybe I'll talk to him some.
Later tonight. You know, we're getting ready to come in. And, you know, again, if you could just shoot your long-term goal to me.
Right now?
Yep.
Long-term goal is September 1st. I'm going to have 3 hours most likely on Sunday afternoons to recharge and rebuild myself and just spend time just relaxing.
Sunday afternoon, you'll have 3 hours of Gen time on your calendar by September 1st.
Yes.
And what was your action step?
Should be do non-action. But my action step is also to look at my short term, the action step is to look at 2 consecutive weekends.
Look at those 2 consecutive weekends, gather that data and see about scheduling that time in.
Yes.
Yeah. And with that action step on a 1 to 10 scale, how confident are you think you're going to accomplish that by June 10th?
I think an 8 or 9, because
8 or 9. Jen's confident.
yeah, because I'm held accountable too, and that helps.
You're going to let your husband know. That's going to, so just, we've been at it for 9 minutes and 54 seconds, Jen. In your own words, what are you taking away from our conversation?
That I'm going to have a specific plan to address this issue, that I'm going to begin to really work on recharging. Let's find a time to recharge.
Non-action is action. That'll let you be there for the other things that you got going on. Yeah. Well, thank you, Jennifer. I'll check
Hey,
back
that
with
was
you.
long. Okay, great. 9 minutes was long. Whew. For me, because I'm one.